Dawn crept over Pine Valley, Montana, painting the snow-laden landscape in shades of lavender and gold. The thermometer outside Emily Parker's mountain ranch home read -15 degrees, an unprecedented temperature for late March. But it wasn't the bitter cold that made Emily's hand tremble as she reached for her phone. It was the scene unfolding on her security camera feed that stopped her breath entirely. There at her front gate stood a massive black bear, her powerful frame reduced to sharp angles and protruding bones. Behind her, 3 tiny cubs huddled together, their small bodies shaking violently in the morning wind. The smallest one had collapsed in the snow, barely moving. The scene before her defied everything Emily knew about bear behavior from her years as a park ranger. Yet here it was, playing out on her phone screen in real time. The mother bear's eyes, once fierce guardians of her territory, now held a desperate plea that transcended species. She stood at the gate, her enormous paw reaching out to touch the metal bars, not with aggression, but with an almost human-like gentleness. The security camera caught every detail. The way her breath formed clouds in the freezing air, how her legs trembled with each slight movement, and most heartbreaking of all, how she kept turning back to nuzzle her weakening cubs. Emily's mind raced through her years of wildlife training. Every protocol, every safety measure, every rule screamed at her to call wildlife services and wait. But as she watched the smallest cub struggle to stand, only to collapse again in the deepening snow, she knew waiting wasn't an option. These cubs wouldn't survive another hour in this cold, let alone the time it would take for official help to arrive. The mother bear's behavior grew more urgent. She gently picked up the fallen cub by the scruff of its neck, moving it closer to the gate. The other 2 cubs stumbled forward, their small legs buckling under their own weight. Their fur, which should have been thick and glossy, hung in matted patches that barely covered their emaciated frames. Emily could count every rib, every vertebra, even from the camera feed. In that moment, Emily Parker faced a decision that would ripple through her community and challenge everything she thought she knew about the boundaries between humans and wildlife. Her hand hovered over her phone, torn between dialing for help and reaching for her coat. The mother bear's eyes seemed to find the camera, and in that gaze, Emily saw something that stripped away years of training and protocol, raw maternal desperation that mirrored human emotion in ways she never thought possible. The wind howled outside her window, driving sheets of late-season snow across her property. The temperature was still dropping, and the small family at her gate had nowhere else to turn. Emily glanced at the heated water feature she maintained, for local birds, at her well-stocked shed full of emergency supplies, and at the garden where she grew hardy winter vegetables. She had the means to help, but helping meant breaking every rule she'd learned about wildlife interaction. The security camera showed the mother bear attempting to lift her fallen cub again, but her strength was failing. The other 2 cubs pressed against their sibling, their small bodies offering what little warmth they could share. Their mother's massive head drooped, exhaustion evident in every line of her body. Yet she remained standing, her protective instinct the only thing keeping her on her feet. Emily's training screamed at her about the dangers of feeding bears, about creating dependencies, about the risks to both humans and animals. But as she watched this mother's desperate attempt to save her family, other memories surfaced. Stories of extraordinary animal intelligence, of bridges built between species in moments of crisis, of times when breaking protocol meant saving lives. The smallest cub had stopped moving entirely. Its siblings' attempts to rouse it became increasingly frantic, their weak cries barely audible through the camera's audio. The mother bear's attention divided between her motionless cub and the gate, her eyes returning to the camera with what Emily could only describe as a plea for mercy. This wasn't just about feeding hungry animals. It was about preventing a tragedy that would haunt her forever if she chose to do nothing. Emily's fingers moved across her phone, but not to call for help. Instead, she pulled up the contact for Dr. Nathan Collins, the region's leading wildlife veterinarian. As she pressed dial, she was already pulling on her heavy winter coat. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times as she rushed to gather supplies. When Dr. Collins's groggy voice finally answered, Emily's words tumbled out in a rush. "Nate, it's Emily Parker from Aspen Ridge Road. I have a mother bear and 3 cubs at my gate. They're dying. The smallest one isn't moving anymore. I know it's against protocol, but I'm going out there. I need you here now." She didn't wait for his response before ending the call. Grabbing her emergency medical kit, a remnant from her ranger days, she headed for the door. The security feed showed the mother bear still standing guard, though her strength was clearly fading. One of the remaining active cubs had also stopped moving, leaving only one still attempting to rouse its siblings. As Emily pulled on her boots, she sent a quick message to the Pine Valley Community Watch Group. "Emergency at 44 Aspen Ridge Road. Mother bear and 3 cubs in critical condition. Need immediate assistance. Bringing them inside back gate. Dr. Collins en route." The morning sun had barely cleared the mountains as Emily stepped onto her porch, medical kit in one hand, her other hand hovering over the gate release button on her phone. The mother bear's head lifted at her appearance, but there was no aggression in her posture, only exhaustion and desperate hope. Their eyes met across the snow-covered yard, and in that moment, Emily knew her decision would change, not only these bears' lives, but her own as well. "Please," she whispered, though no one could hear her, "please let this be the right choice." Her finger pressed the gate release button, and the mechanical whir of opening metal echoed through the frozen morning air. The decision was made. There was no turning back now. If this story of compassion and survival against all odds has touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to see more incredible tales of hope and healing in our natural world. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join our community of wildlife lovers who believe in making a difference. Your support helps us share more stories that remind us of the extraordinary connections possible between humans and wildlife. Share this video to spread hope, and remember, sometimes the bravest choice is showing mercy when others might turn away. The unprecedented winter that gripped Pine Valley had transformed the normally vibrant mountain landscape into an unforgiving wasteland. Local naturalists would later describe it as the most severe season in recorded history, with temperatures plummeting far below seasonal averages and snow accumulating in depths that challenged even the hardiest wildlife. The Crystal Creek, usually a reliable water source for the valley's diverse animal population, had frozen solid, its surface reflecting the harsh sunlight like polished glass. For the wildlife of Bear Den Mountain, survival had become increasingly desperate as winter stretched weeks beyond its normal duration. The early spring thaw that typically brought relief by mid-March remained stubbornly absent, leaving the forest floor buried under feet of crusted snow. Beneath this frozen blanket lay the dormant berries, roots, and early spring vegetation that would normally sustain the emerging bear population. Game cameras scattered throughout Pine Valley National Forest told a grim story. The usual deer trails stood empty. The elk herds had migrated far beyond their traditional ranges, and smaller prey animals had either perished or burrowed deep beneath the snow. The cameras captured images of gaunt wolves trudging through deep drifts, mountain lions venturing unusually close to human settlements, and bears emerging from their dens far too early, driven by desperate hunger. Kate Martinez, the senior park ranger, had documented the warning signs since February. Her weekly reports painted an increasingly concerning picture of wildlife behavior patterns disrupted by the severe conditions. The natural order that usually governed the delicate balance between predator and prey had begun to unravel. Animals were taking unprecedented risks, pushing beyond their normal territories and making dangerous choices in their search for sustenance. Local wildlife organizations had attempted to intervene where possible, setting up emergency feeding stations deep in the forest. But the prolonged winter had depleted their resources, and accessing remote areas became nearly impossible as storm after storm battered the region. The Mountain Region Wildlife Center found itself overwhelmed with calls about starving animals, but their facilities and supplies could only stretch so far. In her 12 years of service, Kate had never witnessed such widespread wildlife distress. The regular patterns of seasonal transition had been completely disrupted. Bears, which typically emerged from hibernation to find early spring growth, now woke to find a world still locked in winter's grip. Their fat reserves, carefully conserved through normal hibernation periods, were depleting rapidly as they searched. In vain for food, the morning temperature readings at various stations throughout the valley told their own story. Crystal Creek Station, -18 degrees. Bear Den Summit, -25. Valley Floor, -15. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. These readings, more typical of January than late March, had persisted for weeks. The electronic monitors beeped their warnings into the frigid air, their solar panels often covered in fresh snow, adding to the challenge of maintaining consistent data collection. Margaret Wilson, heading the local conservation group, had organized emergency response teams, but their efforts felt increasingly futile against nature's onslaught. The group's resources stretched thin as they attempted to address multiple wildlife crises simultaneously. Their usual protocols for wildlife management had to be continuously adapted as they faced situations without precedent in their operational history. The valley's wildlife corridors, typically busy with animal movement as spring approached, stood eerily silent. The few tracks visible in the snow told stories of desperate journeys, circuitous paths of animals searching for food, straight line, tracks of predators pursuing ever scarcer prey, and the meandering trails of weakened creatures struggling to survive. These paths increasingly led closer to human settlements as wild animals sought any possibility of sustenance. Even the birds, usually abundant at Emily's feeders, had largely disappeared, either perishing in the brutal cold or flying far south in search of better conditions. The few remaining ravens croaked their harsh calls across the valley, their voices carrying in the crystal-clear air, as if announcing the dire state of their world to any who would listen. The meteorological data collected at Pine Valley Weather Station painted a stark picture of the season's severity. Average temperatures had dropped 15 degrees below seasonal norms. Snowfall totals had exceeded previous records by over 40%. The snow water equivalent measurements, crucial for predicting spring conditions, showed levels not seen in over 50 years of record keeping. Local memory held no reference for such conditions. Even Bob Thompson, with his 40 years of forest service experience, found himself at a loss when trying to recall anything comparable. The old-timers who gathered at Mike Sullivan's store spoke in hushed tones about the strange weather, sharing stories passed down from their grandparents about the forever winter that had once gripped the valley. But even those tales paled in comparison to current conditions. The impact on the bear population proved especially severe. These intelligent and adaptable creatures, typically skilled at finding food in varied conditions, found themselves facing impossible odds. Their natural food sources, early spring plants, insect larvae, and small prey, remained locked away under the frozen ground. The bears' powerful sense of smell, usually guiding them to food sources, now led them only to more frozen terrain. The timing couldn't have been worse for mothers with cubs. Having given birth during hibernation, they emerged to find a world unable to support their increased nutritional needs. Nursing mothers required significant calories to produce milk for their cubs, yet the landscape offered nothing but snow and ice. Their bodies, already depleted from hibernation and nursing, had no reserves left to draw upon. The scientific data, collected by Dr. Nathan Collins and his team, revealed the extent of the crisis. Body mass measurements of observed bears showed dangerous declines. Blood samples from tranquilized bears requiring medical intervention indicated severe nutritional deficiencies. The normal fat reserves that should have carried them through to spring had been exhausted, leaving them burning muscle tissue for survival. The winter's impact extended beyond immediate survival concerns. Dr. Collins's research indicated potential long-term effects on breeding patterns, population dynamics, and territorial behaviors. The stress of prolonged food scarcity could alter bear behavior for generations, potentially forcing permanent changes in their relationship with human-populated areas. Weather satellite imagery showed the unusual weather pattern locked in place over the region, a persistent high-pressure system that continued to funnel Arctic air into the valley. Meteorologists at the National Weather Service struggled to explain the phenomenon, their models unable to predict when normal seasonal patterns might resume. Each forecast brought more bad news, more cold, more snow. The frozen landscape transformed, familiar territories into alien terrain. The bears' usual marking trees stood like ice sculptures, their bark too hard to leave the scent marks that normally helped maintain territorial boundaries. Water sources had frozen solid, forcing wildlife to eat snow for hydration, a process that required precious energy to warm the snow to body temperature, further depleting their reserves. Local wildlife cameras captured increasingly concerning images: bears breaking into abandoned structures, searching for anything edible, cubs struggling to follow their mothers through deep snow, their small bodies ill-equipped for such harsh conditions. The normal playfulness of young bears had disappeared, replaced by a singular focus on survival. The valley's Native American elders spoke of ancient stories warning of such times when the natural world would fall out of balance. They watched the wildlife struggles with grave concern, recognizing in their behavior signs that their traditional knowledge had predicted. The elders spoke of times when the boundaries between human and animal worlds would blur, when compassion would become as crucial for survival as strength. Emily's property, situated at the intersection of wildlife corridors, had become a silent witness to the crisis. Her security cameras captured a steady increase in wildlife activity near human settlements. The natural wariness that usually kept wild animals at a distance had begun to erode under the pressure of survival. The normal boundaries between wild and human spaces grew increasingly meaningless as hunger drove animals to take greater risks. The forest's silence spoke volumes. Gone were the usual sounds of wildlife activity, the scratching of squirrels, the chatter of birds, the rustle of creatures in the underbrush. Instead, the only sounds were the creak of frozen branches and the whisper of wind through ice-laden pines. The absence of natural sounds created an eerie atmosphere that seemed to emphasize the gravity of the situation. As Emily stood at her window each morning, watching the sun rise over a landscape locked in winter's grip, she witnessed the increasing desperation of the wild creatures that ventured near her property. The heated water feature she maintained had become a rare oasis in the frozen landscape, drawing everything from small songbirds to desperate deer. She found herself refilling it multiple times daily, knowing it might be the only unfrozen water source for miles. The community's motion sensor cameras, part of a wildlife monitoring network, captured the changing behavior patterns. Nocturnal animals now ventured out during daylight hours, desperate for any advantage in finding food. typically solitary creatures. Gathered near any perceived food source, their usual territorial instincts suspended in the face of survival needs. The footage painted a picture of an ecosystem under unprecedented stress. In the weeks leading up to the arrival of the mother bear and her cubs, the signs of impending crisis had multiplied. Weather stations recorded temperature drops that shattered previous records. Wildlife cameras captured images of animals exhibiting increasingly risky behavior. Emergency calls to wildlife services grew more frequent and more desperate. Yet no one could have predicted the extraordinary scene that would unfold at Emily's gate, or the chain of events it would set in motion. The morning of the bear's arrival dawned colder than any late March day in living memory. The sun rose over Pine Valley to illuminate a world transformed by winter's refusal to release its grip. The harsh conditions that had pushed a desperate mother bear to seek human help had been months in the making, each frozen day adding another layer to the crisis that would soon test the boundaries between human caution and compassion. Dark clouds gathered over Bear Den Mountain, promising yet another snowstorm. The forecast warned of another 8 inches of snow, another blow to wildlife already struggling to survive. The wind carried the scent of snow and the distant sounds of breaking ice, nature's reminder that winter's grip remained firm despite the changing calendar. In the valley below, no one could have predicted how this relentless winter would force a moment of choice between human safety and animal survival. In the gathering light of dawn, Emily Parker's security cameras captured the subtle changes in the mother bear's behavior that spoke of her internal struggle. The massive creature's movements revealed the war between instinct and necessity, each gesture telling a story of desperate choices. Her powerful frame, once a symbol of wilderness might, now moved with the hesitation of one stepping beyond the boundaries of natural law. The mother bear's eyes held an intelligence that transcended mere animal survival. As she surveyed Emily's property from the gate, her gaze showed calculation beyond simple hunger. She tested the air with delicate movements of her nose, her heightened senses gathering information about this human territory. Each careful step revealed her awareness of crossing an ancient boundary, of breaking rules as old as the relationship between humans and wildlife. Through the camera feed, Emily watched the bear's maternal instincts overcome generations of ingrained caution. The mother's attention constantly shifted between her weakening cubs and potential threats, her head moving in an endless pattern of vigilance. When the smallest cub whimpered, she immediately responded with gentle nudges and soft vocalizations, sounds rarely heard by human ears. These quiet moments of tenderness contradicted every fearsome stereotype of her species. The security footage revealed the depth of the mother's dedication. Despite her own evident exhaustion, she positioned herself to block the bitter wind from reaching her cubs. Her massive body, even in its weakened state, created a sheltered space where her little ones could conserve what little warmth remained. In their failing bodies, this natural windbreak came at a cost. She absorbed the full force of the freezing gusts, her fur rhyming with frost as she stood guard. Dr. Nathan Collins, watching the recorded footage later, would note the exceptional nature of her behavior. Every movement showed signs of advanced physical depletion, yet she maintained the strength to care for 3 cubs. Her maternal drive had pushed her body far beyond normal endurance, burning through fat reserves and then muscle tissue to produce milk for her offspring. The fact that she remained standing defied biological expectations. The mother's dilemma manifested in small but telling details. Her paw prints in the snow showed evidence of pacing back and forth along the gate's perimeter, searching for options. These tracks told the story of her internal conflict, the instinct to flee from human presence, warring with the drive to save her cubs. Each set of prints moved closer to the gate, marking her gradual decision to risk everything for survival. Emily's cameras caught the moment when desperation finally overcame fear. The mother bear approached the gate directly, her movements showing unprecedented purpose. She reached through the bars with surprising gentleness, her massive paw exploring the mechanism with an almost human-like curiosity. This deliberate investigation of human structures marked a profound departure from natural behavior, revealing the depth of her need. The bear's vocalizations changed as morning progressed, shifting from soft reassurances to her cubs to subtle sounds directed toward the house. These calls defied normal bear behavior. They weren't aggressive warnings or distress signals, but something entirely different. They carried a quality that seemed intentionally restrained, almost conversational, as if she understood the need to communicate without triggering alarm. The smallest cub's condition forced the mother's final decision. When the tiny creature stopped responding to her gentle nudges, her behavior shifted dramatically. Years of instinctive caution fell away in the face of immediate necessity. She began actively trying to draw attention, making direct eye contact with the security cameras, an action bears typically avoid. Her movements became more demonstrative, clearly intended to be seen and understood. Each time the wind gusted across the property, the mother's body tensed with protective instinct. She would gather her cubs closer, creating a living barrier between them and the elements. These moments revealed the physical cost of her protection. Violent tremors ran through her massive frame, her muscles spasming from cold and exhaustion. Yet she maintained her stance, sacrificing her own comfort for her cubs' survival. The mother's awareness of human presence showed remarkable sophistication. She responded to subtle changes in the house's lighting, to movements behind windows, to the distant sound of vehicles. Each new stimulus triggered careful evaluation, her responses calculated to appear non-threatening. This demonstrated an unprecedented level of adaptive intelligence, a conscious modification of natural behavior in service of survival. Through the camera's unblinking eye, Emily observed the mother bear's growing desperation as her cub's condition deteriorated. The once powerful predator now moved with the caution of a supplicant, her posture communicating submission rather than threat. This transformation defied everything Emily had learned about bear behavior during her years as a park ranger. The creature before her was rewriting the rules of wildlife interaction through pure maternal determination. The mother's attention to her cubs revealed both devotion and growing fear. She constantly checked their breathing, gently nosing each little body, her movements becoming more urgent as their responses weakened. When the smallest cub stopped moving entirely, her actions took on a new intensity. She began actively seeking human attention. Her efforts now focused entirely on saving her failing cubs rather than maintaining safe distance. The bear's maternal instincts expressed themselves in touching details captured by Emily's cameras. She cleaned her cubs with gentle swipes of her tongue, an activity that served both to warm them and to maintain the grooming rituals that reinforced family bonds. Even in crisis, she maintained these nurturing behaviors, preserving the routines that had defined their relationship since birth. Time-stamped footage showed the progression of the mother's desperate decision-making. Each hour brought new evidence of her cub's declining strength, forcing her to venture closer to human territory. The camera tracked her incremental approach, each step marking another barrier broken, another natural law suspended in the face of necessity. Her body language shifted from wildlife wariness to focused intent, her movements now guided by a single, desperate purpose. The mother bear's decisions reflected complex problem-solving abilities. She tested different approaches to the gate, explored alternate routes, and evaluated multiple options before choosing her final course of action. This methodical exploration suggested levels of cognitive processing that challenged conventional understanding of wildlife behavior. She wasn't simply reacting to hunger, she was actively strategizing. Emily's security system captured the subtle changes in the cubs' behavior that drove their mother's increasing desperation. Their movements grew weaker, their responses to their mother's encouragement more feeble. The smallest cub, especially, showed signs of severe distress, its breathing shallow, its attempts to move becoming increasingly uncoordinated. These signs of failing strength spurred their mother to more urgent action. The mother's protective instincts manifested in constant vigilance. Even as she sought human help, she maintained awareness of other potential threats. Her head lifted. At every sound, her body positioned to defend her cubs from any direction. This multi-layered attention demonstrated remarkable cognitive capacity. She managed multiple survival priorities simultaneously, adapting her responses to changing conditions. As morning light strengthened, the cameras recorded the mother, Bear's final attempts to solve her crisis without human intervention. She tried to shelter her cubs in snowbanks, sought protected corners near the gate, and attempted to gather what scant natural resources remained available. Each failed effort brought her closer to the unavoidable conclusion that survival would require breaking the ancient boundaries between wild and human worlds. The decision to seek human help came gradually, marked by subtle shifts in behavior. Caught on camera, the mother bear's movements became more deliberate, her attention increasingly focused on the house rather than escape routes. She began positioning her cubs where they would be visible from the windows, arranging them with careful attention that suggested conscious communication attempt. Through the lens of Emily's security system, the mother's intelligence showed in surprising ways. She seemed to understand the camera's purpose, often looking directly into them when her cubs showed signs of distress. This apparent grasp of surveillance technology suggested cognitive abilities far beyond traditional understanding of wildlife behavior. She had identified the cameras as communication tools and was actively using them to convey her need. The bear's maternal drive manifested in heartbreaking details captured by the high-definition footage. When one of her cubs stumbled, she immediately supported its weight with her broad forehead, gently guiding it back to its feet. These moments of tenderness, played out against the harsh backdrop of survival necessity, revealed the depth of bonds that transcended species barriers. Her devotion sparked recognition in human observers. A mother's love expressed in terms any parent could understand. As the crisis deepened, the mother's behavior showed increasing signs of desperation, tempered by remarkable restraint. She could have easily broken through the gate or scaled the fence, yet she chose to wait and seek permission. This conscious decision to respect human boundaries, even in dire circumstances, demonstrated extraordinary judgment. She maintained this careful balance between urgency and restraint, her behavior calculated to elicit help rather than fear. The security footage captured the physical toll of the mother's choices. Her movements grew increasingly labored, her massive frame trembling with exhaustion. Yet she remained standing, her determination fueled by the weakening sounds of her cubs. Each moment of continued effort defied physical limits, her maternal drive pushing her body far beyond normal endurance. The camera's unblinking eye recorded this testament to maternal devotion, documenting choices that would soon challenge human understanding of wildlife behavior. Timestamps on the security feed marked the progression of her desperate vigil. Each passing minute brought new evidence of her cub's declining strength, forcing her to venture closer to human territory. The footage tracked her incremental approach, each step marking another barrier broken, another natural law suspended in the face of necessity. Her body language shifted from wildlife wariness to focused intent, her movements now guided by a single desperate purpose. The mother bear's final decision appeared as a subtle shift in posture caught by Emily's cameras. Her shoulders squared, her head lifted, and her gaze fixed directly on the house with new purpose. This moment of choice registered clearly in her body language, the instant when maternal desperation finally overcame generations of instinctive fear. She had moved beyond simple survival behavior into uncharted territory. Her actions now, guided by a higher understanding of risk and necessity. In the growing light of dawn, the security cameras continued their silent witness as the mother bear faced her moment of truth. Her decision to seek human help would soon challenge not only her own instincts but human assumptions about wildlife behavior. The footage captured this watershed moment in the relationship between species, a desperate mother's choice that would soon force humans to examine their own boundaries between caution and compassion. Pine Valley stirred to life as first light crept over Bear Den Mountain, illuminating a landscape transformed by desperate necessity. Emily Parker stood at her window, heart pounding, watching the massive gate swing open with agonizing slowness. The mechanical whir seemed deafening in the frozen morning air, each second stretching into eternity as the barrier between human and wild gradually disappeared. The mother bear's reaction defied every wildlife training protocol Emily had ever learned. Instead of charging through the opening or retreating in fear, she waited, her posture revealing an almost human-like comprehension. Her eyes remained fixed on Emily, showing neither aggression nor panic, but something far more complex, a deep, almost primal understanding passing between two mothers, separated by species but united by the universal drive to protect their young. From the safety of her porch, Emily watched the bear gently nudge her stronger cubs forward. Their movements through the snow left a heartbreaking trail. Stumbling footprints punctuated by frequent falls, each step a testament to their desperate condition. The mother's own tracks showed her exhaustion, deep gouges in the snow where she struggled to maintain her balance while carrying her weakest cub. The morning light revealed the full extent of their condition. Frost clung to their fur in crystalline patterns, their breath forming small clouds that dissipated in the frigid air. The mother's enormous frame, which should have radiated power and vitality, instead spoke of months of hardship. Each step appeared to cost her dearly, yet she moved with singular purpose toward the promise of sanctuary. Behind her window, Dr. Nathan Collins observed the family's approach through his professional lens. His trained eye noted signs that would later fill pages of research notes. The cub's unnatural gait indicating severe malnutrition, the mother's compromised muscle mass, the irregular respiratory patterns visible in their condensed breath. Yet even his scientific detachment couldn't mask his amazement at their behavior. The Bear family's journey across Emily's property unfolded with surprising grace. The mother maintained constant awareness of her surroundings, her head turning to track every sound, every movement. Yet she never showed aggression, never displayed the defensive behavior typical of her species. Instead, she focused entirely on guiding her cubs to safety, her movements careful and deliberate. The security cameras captured extraordinary moments of maternal devotion. When one cub stumbled into a deep snowdrift, the mother immediately set down her weakest offspring to help, carefully excavating the struggling cub with massive paws made gentle by necessity. These glimpses of tenderness, played out against the harsh backdrop of survival, touched something profound in those witnessing the scene. Emily's heated water feature caught the mother's attention, steam rising from its surface in delicate spirals. She guided her cubs toward it with careful urgency, understanding its importance even in their desperate state. The small family's approach to this oasis demonstrated remarkable restraint. No rushing, no fighting over access. Instead, the mother ensured each cub had the opportunity to drink, standing guard while they lapped at the unfrozen water. The mountain sunrise painted the scene in surreal colors, the low angle of light catching ice crystals in the air and creating halos around the bear's massive forms. This otherworldly illumination emphasized the extraordinary nature of the moment, wild and domestic boundaries dissolving in the face of desperate need. The mother's fur glowed like burnished copper in the early light, each frost crystal a prism scattering rainbow fragments across the snow. Time seemed suspended as Emily watched the family navigate her property. Every movement, every decision the mother bear made defied conventional wildlife behavior patterns. She chose paths that provided maximum protection for her cubs while remaining visible to the house, displaying an intuitive understanding of human sightlines and potential threats. This level of strategic thinking challenged everything Emily thought she knew about animal intelligence. The mother bear's awareness of human presence showed remarkable sophistication. She responded to subtle changes: the sound of a door opening, movement behind windows, the click of a camera shutter. Each new stimulus triggered careful evaluation, her responses calculated to appear non-threatening. This demonstrated an unprecedented level of adaptive intelligence, a conscious modification of natural behavior in service of survival. As the family moved deeper into human territory, their tracks told a story of determination against overwhelming odds. The stronger cubs' footprints showed their struggle: irregular spacing, frequent slides, occasional collapses into the snow. The mother's tracks revealed her exhaustion, deep impressions where she paused to gather strength, places where her massive frame had swayed with fatigue. Yet they pressed forward, each step bringing them closer to possible salvation. Dr. Collins, now fully alert despite the early hour, began documenting the bear's behavior with professional precision. His camera captured subtle details that would later prove invaluable. The precise angle of the mother's protective stance, the way she positioned herself between her cubs and potential threats, the careful calculation visible in each decision she made. These observations would eventually challenge scientific understanding of ursine intelligence and adaptive behavior. The mother's journey across the property revealed her weakened condition with heartbreaking clarity. Muscles trembled visibly beneath her fur, each step requiring visible effort. Yet she maintained her gentle grip on her weakest cub, never once faltering in her maternal duties despite her obvious exhaustion. Her dedication transcended simple instinct, displaying a depth of purpose that touched everyone who witnessed it. Emily's security cameras tracked the family's progress from multiple angles, recording behavior that would later astound wildlife experts. The mother consistently chose paths that provided maximum protection while maintaining clear sight lines to the house. She guided her cubs with gentle nudges and soft vocalizations, her communication with them revealing complex social interactions rarely observed in wild bears. The morning light strengthened, bringing new challenges as the bears moved through exposed areas. The mother's caution increased with the improved visibility, yet she never showed signs of panic or aggression. Instead, she adjusted her path to take advantage of available cover while remaining within view of the house, a delicate balance that demonstrated remarkable tactical awareness. Local birds, usually vocal at dawn, fell silent as the bear family passed beneath their perches. This unusual quiet emphasized the gravity of the moment, creating an almost sacred atmosphere around the unfolding drama. The only sounds were the soft crunch of snow beneath massive paws and the occasional whimper from the exhausted cubs. The mother's care for her cubs never wavered despite her obvious distress. When they rested, which happened increasingly, often as they crossed the property, she positioned herself to block the bitter wind, her massive body creating a sheltered space where her little ones could briefly recover. These moments of protection came at a cost to her own stamina, yet she never hesitated to prioritize their comfort over her own. Dr. Collins observed how the mother maintained constant awareness of her surroundings while focusing on her cubs' needs. This split attention demonstrated cognitive abilities far beyond what was typically attributed to wild animals. She processed multiple threats simultaneously, adjusted her behavior based on changing conditions, and made complex decisions that balanced risk against necessity. The family's approach to Emily's home revealed the mother's extraordinary adaptation to human presence. Rather than displaying typical bear behavior, which would have involved either aggression or immediate retreat, she showed a nuanced understanding of human boundaries. Her body language communicated non-aggression, while clearly conveying urgent need, an unprecedented combination that fascinated observers. Emily watched as the mother bear navigated around her garden's winter protection structures carefully, avoiding damage to the supports and covers. This deliberate preservation of human property demonstrated awareness that went beyond simple survival instinct. The bear seemed to understand that maintaining human goodwill was crucial to her cubs' survival. The security footage captured subtle interactions between mother and cubs that revealed complex family dynamics. When the stronger cubs showed signs of fear, their mother reassured them with gentle touches and soft sounds. These moments of tenderness, played out against the backdrop of their desperate journey, highlighted the depth of social bonds within bear families. As morning fully arrived, the bears' condition became increasingly apparent. Their fur, which should have been thick and glossy, hung in matted patches that barely protected them from the cold. The cubs' small bodies trembled constantly, their movements growing more uncoordinated as exhaustion and cold took their toll. The mother's massive frame swayed with each step, her strength clearly fading despite her determined progress. The family's journey across Emily's property marked an unprecedented crossing of boundaries, not just physical ones, but the ancient barriers between wild and human worlds. Each careful step, each considered decision by the mother bear challenged fundamental assumptions about wildlife behavior. Her actions spoke of intelligence, adaptation, and a desperate hope that transcended species barriers. Time seemed to move differently in these extraordinary moments. The usual morning sounds, distant traffic, neighborhood activities, the start of another day, felt muted and irrelevant compared to the drama unfolding in Emily's yard. The bear family's progress became the focus of all attention, their struggle for survival transcending ordinary concerns. Dr. Collins continued his documentation, knowing he was witnessing something unprecedented in his long career studying wildlife behavior. The mother bear's decisions, her interactions with her cubs, and her careful navigation of human territory suggested levels of cognitive processing that would challenge existing scientific understanding. Her actions demonstrated planning, adaptation, and social awareness far beyond what was typically attributed to her species. The morning light strengthened, bringing both illumination and increased risk. The mother bear's movements became more cautious, yet she never lost sight of her goal. Her journey across Emily's property represented a profound shift in the relationship between humans and wildlife, a desperate gamble that would soon force both species to reevaluate their ancient boundaries. Dawn painted Pine Valley in ethereal shades of pink and gold as Emily Parker faced the defining moment of her career. The massive metal gate stood open, a threshold between two worlds that had remained separate for generations. Time seemed to crystallize as she watched the mother bear make her final approach, each step weighted with significance that would soon ripple through the entire community. The morning air carried sounds that would forever mark this moment in Emily's memory. The soft crunch of snow beneath massive paws, the labored breathing of exhausted cubs, the gentle whir of security cameras documenting every historic second. From somewhere in the distance, a lone raven called, its harsh voice cutting through the crystalline air like a prophet announcing the dawn of something extraordinary. Dr. Nathan Collins arrived just as the Bear family reached the midpoint of Emily's property. His truck's headlights caught the scene in stark relief, the mother's massive frame silhouetted against the brightening sky, her cubs huddled close, their small bodies trembling with cold and exhaustion. The veteran wildlife expert's sharp intake of breath spoke volumes about the unprecedented nature of what they witnessed. The mother bear's approach to Emily's house defied every protocol in wildlife management. Instead of the cautious circling, typical of her species, she moved with deliberate purpose toward the front porch. Her eyes, intelligence burning bright despite her exhaustion, remained fixed on Emily's position. Each step seemed carefully calculated to appear non-threatening, while conveying the urgency of her need. From his position at the property's edge, Bob Thompson, the retired Forest Service employee, began capturing photographs that would soon challenge scientific understanding of wildlife behavior. His practiced eye noted details that spoke volumes. The mother's protective positioning, her careful attention to her cub's progress, the remarkable awareness she showed of human boundaries. Every frame told a story of intelligence and adaptation that defied conventional wisdom. Emily's heated water feature created a small oasis in the frozen landscape, steam rising in delicate spirals that caught the strengthening light. The mother bear guided her cubs toward this source of life with gentle determination. Their approach to the water demonstrated remarkable restraint, no rushing despite their desperate thirst, no fighting for access. Instead, the mother ensured each cub had the opportunity to drink while she stood guard. Instead of attempting to access the food herself, she guided her cubs forward with gentle nudges. Her own hunger seemed forgotten in her drive to ensure their survival. This prioritization of offspring over self transcended simple instinct, suggesting deeper levels of conscious choice. The security footage captured the mother's careful calculation of risk and benefit as she allowed her cubs to approach the offered food. Her body language communicated clear boundaries to both her cubs and the humans, defining safe distances and acceptable interactions with remarkable precision. This demonstration of complex social awareness challenged existing understanding of ursine behavior. Local wildlife photographer Jack Freeman arrived, his professional eye immediately recognizing the historic nature of the unfolding scene. His cameras captured subtle details that would later provide valuable insights into bear behavior. The specific angle of the mother's protective stance, the way she positioned herself between her cubs and potential threats, the careful calculation visible in each decision she made. The morning air carried more than just the sound of human activity and wildlife movement. It held the weight of ancient boundaries being redrawn. Each breath seemed charged with significance as human and animal worlds merged in this desperate bid for survival. The mother bear's choice to seek human help marked a watershed moment in the relationship between species. Emily watched as the mother bear navigated this complex situation with remarkable grace. Despite her obvious exhaustion and the stress of being surrounded by humans, she maintained her gentle guidance of her cubs. Her behavior suggested levels of trust and comprehension that would later fill research papers and challenge scientific understanding of wildlife intelligence. The security cameras continued documenting every aspect of this extraordinary encounter. The mother's attention never wavered from her cubs, yet she maintained awareness of every human movement. This split focus demonstrated cognitive abilities, far beyond what was typically attributed to wild animals. She processed multiple threats simultaneously, adjusted her behavior based on changing conditions, and made complex decisions that balanced risk against necessity. As the morning progressed, the bear's condition became increasingly apparent to the gathered professionals. Their fur, which should have been thick and glossy, hung in matted patches that barely protected them from the cold. The cubs' small bodies trembled constantly, their movements growing more uncoordinated as exhaustion and cold took their toll. The mother's massive frame swayed with each step, her strength clearly fading despite her determined focus. The critical moment arrived as Dr. Collins prepared to examine the weakest cub. The mother's response would determine the success or failure of their intervention. Her behavior in these crucial seconds demonstrated remarkable understanding. She seemed to comprehend that this temporary separation was necessary for her cub's survival. This level of trust between wild and human worlds marked an unprecedented breakthrough in wildlife interaction. Emily's property had become a nexus, where the boundaries between wild and domestic spheres dissolved in the face of desperate need. The mother bear's journey across these traditional barriers challenged fundamental assumptions about wildlife behavior. Her actions spoke of intelligence, adaptation, and a desperate hope that transcended species boundaries. This watershed moment would soon force both humans and wildlife to reevaluate their ancient relationships. Time seemed to move differently in these extraordinary moments. The usual morning sounds, distant traffic, neighborhood activities, the start of another day, felt muted and irrelevant compared to the drama unfolding in Emily's yard. The bear family's struggle for survival transcended ordinary concerns, drawing everyone present into a moment of profound connection between species. Emily Parker gripped her phone tightly as she made the calls that would change everything. Her voice trembled with urgency as she contacted local wildlife authorities, her words painting a picture of unprecedented crisis. Through her kitchen window, the mother bear's eyes met hers with an intelligence that transcended species barriers, a silent communication that spoke directly to her heart. Margaret Wilson, head of the local conservation group, answered on the first ring despite the early hour. Her decades of wildlife experience couldn't hide the shock in her voice as Emily described the scene unfolding in her yard. The bear's desperate condition and the mother's remarkable behavior demanded immediate action, pushing the boundaries of standard wildlife protocols. Dr. Nathan Collins's arrival marked a crucial shift in the morning's events. His practiced eye took in every detail of the bear's condition, his professional demeanor briefly cracking as he witnessed the mother's extraordinary behavior. Years of veterinary experience hadn't prepared him for the level of intelligence and trust displayed by this wild creature seeking human help. Amy Chen, the veterinary assistant, worked with swift efficiency to prepare emergency supplies. Her hands moved with practiced precision as she mixed specialized formula and prepared medical equipment, all while maintaining a calm presence that seemed to reassure both the mother bear and her cubs. The morning light caught the tears in her eyes as she witnessed the depth of maternal devotion displayed before them. Kate Martinez arrived with emergency wildlife protocols in hand, only to find herself facing a situation that defied standard procedures. Her ranger training emphasized maintaining distance from wild animals, yet here was a mother bear actively seeking human intervention. The contradiction between protocol and necessity created a moment of professional crisis that would reshape her understanding of wildlife management. The Pine Valley community began stirring to life as news of the situation spread through local networks. Neighbors emerged from their homes, drawn by an instinctive understanding that they were witnessing something extraordinary. Their presence added new complexity to the scene, yet the mother bear's behavior remained focused and deliberate, her attention divided between her cubs and the growing human audience. Bob Thompson, retired from decades of forest service, positioned himself carefully to document the unfolding events. His experienced eye recognized behaviors he'd never witnessed in his long career studying wildlife. The mother's careful calculation of risk and benefit Her deliberate communication attempts and her trust in human presence defied everything he thought he knew about bear behavior. Local wildlife photographer Jack Freeman captured images that would soon challenge scientific understanding of ursine intelligence. His lens focused on subtle details, the mother's protective positioning, her gentle guidance of the cubs, her remarkable awareness of human boundaries. Each frame told a story of adaptation and trust that transcended conventional wildlife behavior patterns. Emily's phone buzzed constantly as news of the situation spread through community networks. Messages of support and offers of help poured in from neighbors, local businesses, and wildlife organizations. The mother bear's plight touched something deep in the community's heart, sparking a wave of compassion that would soon transform their understanding of human-wildlife relationships. Dr. Collins established a temporary medical station on Emily's porch, his movements careful and measured to avoid startling the bears. The mother's reaction to his preparations demonstrated remarkable comprehension. She watched intently, her head tilting slightly as she processed each new development. Her behavior suggested levels of understanding that would later fill research papers and challenge scientific assumptions. The morning light strengthened, revealing the full extent of the bears' desperate condition. Frost clung to their fur in crystalline patterns, their breath forming small clouds that dissipated in the frigid air. The mother's enormous frame, which should have radiated power and vitality, instead told a story of months of hardship. Each movement appeared to cost her dearly, yet she maintained her focus on her cubs' survival. Amy Chen worked swiftly to prepare specialized feeding formula, the sweet smell drawing immediate attention from the cubs. The mother's reaction proved fascinating. Instead of attempting to access the food herself, she guided her cubs forward with gentle nudges. Her own hunger seemed forgotten in her drive to ensure their survival. This prioritization of offspring over self transcended simple instinct, suggesting deeper levels of conscious choice. Gate Martinez coordinated with local emergency services, establishing a safety perimeter that balanced the bears' needs with public security. Her voice carried authority as she directed volunteers and managed crowd control, yet her eyes remained fixed on the extraordinary scene unfolding before her. The mother bear's behavior challenged everything she'd learned about wildlife management, forcing her to adapt standard protocols to this unprecedented situation. Margaret Wilson arrived with additional supplies and expertise, her presence adding new dimensions to the rescue effort. Her years of wildlife rehabilitation experience proved invaluable as she helped assess the cub's condition and plan appropriate interventions. The mother bear's acceptance of her presence spoke to some deep understanding of human intentions, a recognition that transcended natural barriers. The security cameras continued their silent witness as the morning progressed, capturing behavior that would later astound wildlife experts. The mother consistently positioned herself to keep both her cubs and the human helpers in view, her attention divided but never faltering. This level of situational awareness, combined with clear decision-making ability, suggested cognitive processes far beyond what was typically attributed to wild animals. Emily's property transformed into an impromptu wildlife rehabilitation center as more help arrived. The mother bear's remarkable adaptation to each new development demonstrated intelligence that challenged fundamental assumptions about wildlife behavior. Her careful cooperation with human helpers suggested levels of comprehension that would soon force a re-evaluation of human-wildlife relationships. The mountain sunrise continued, painting the scene in surreal colors, the low angle of light catching ice crystals in the air and creating halos around the bear's massive forms. This otherworldly illumination emphasized the extraordinary nature of the moment, wild and domestic boundaries dissolving in the face of desperate need. The mother's fur glowed like burnished copper in the early light, each frost crystal a prism, scattering rainbow fragments across the snow. Time seemed suspended as the professional wildlife team assembled their resources. Every movement, every decision the mother bear made continued to defy conventional behavior patterns. She chose positions that provided maximum protection for her cubs while remaining visible to the humans, displaying an intuitive understanding of the delicate balance required in this unprecedented situation. Local birds began returning to Emily's feeders, their usual morning routines gradually resuming as they accepted the bear's presence. This gradual return of normal wildlife activity provided another measure of the mother bear's extraordinary behavior. Her presence didn't trigger the panic typically associated with a predator. Instead, she had somehow communicated her peaceful intentions to the entire ecosystem. Dr. Collins's preliminary examination of the cubs revealed the desperate nature of their condition. His professional demeanor cracked slightly as he documented their symptoms. Severe malnutrition, hypothermia, and exhaustion threatened their survival. Yet the mother's trust in allowing his approach suggested she somehow understood his intention to help, a level of comprehension that defied conventional understanding of wildlife behavior. The community's response grew as news spread through local networks. Neighbors arrived with blankets and supplies, their presence adding new complexity to the scene. Yet the mother bear's behavior remained focused and deliberate, her attention divided between her cubs and the growing human audience with remarkable poise and intelligence. Emily's heated water feature became a focal point of activity as the team worked to help the bears. The mother's careful guidance of her cubs to this source of life demonstrated remarkable understanding of human structures. Her behavior suggested levels of comprehension that challenged existing theories about wildlife intelligence and adaptation. The security footage captured subtle interactions between mother and cubs that revealed complex family dynamics. When the stronger cubs showed signs of fear, their mother reassured them with gentle touches and soft sounds. These moments of tenderness, played out against the backdrop of their desperate situation, highlighted the depth of social bonds within bear families. Margaret Wilson coordinated with wildlife rehabilitation centers across the region, her voice carrying both urgency and hope as she described the unprecedented situation. The mother bear's behavior had created a unique opportunity to study and understand wildlife intelligence in ways never before possible. Her trust in human help challenged fundamental assumptions about the boundaries between wild and domestic worlds. The morning light strengthened, bringing new clarity to the bear's desperate condition. Frost clung to their fur in crystalline patterns, their breath forming small clouds that dissipated in the frigid air. The mother's enormous frame, which should have radiated power and vitality, instead told a story of months of hardship. Each movement appeared to cost her dearly, yet she maintained her focus on her cub's survival. Time seemed to move differently in these extraordinary moments. The usual morning sounds, distant traffic, neighborhood activities, the start of another day, felt muted and irrelevant compared to the drama unfolding in Emily's yard. The bear family's struggle for survival transcended ordinary concerns, drawing everyone present into a moment of profound connection between species. The mother bear's journey across traditional barriers challenged fundamental assumptions about wildlife behavior. Her actions spoke of intelligence, adaptation, and a desperate hope that transcended species boundaries. This watershed moment would soon force both humans and wildlife to re-evaluate their ancient relationships, creating new understanding of the possibilities for coexistence and cooperation. Dr. Nathan Collins worked with practiced efficiency in the crisp morning air, his movements precise despite the unprecedented nature of the situation before him. The specialized equipment from his mobile veterinary unit created an impromptu wildlife hospital on Emily Parker's front lawn, each piece carefully arranged to support the delicate operation about to unfold. The mother bear watched his preparations with remarkable comprehension, her eyes tracking each new development with an intelligence that challenged everything he understood about wildlife behavior. Amy Chen, his trusted veterinary assistant, moved with swift precision as she prepared specialized formula designed for malnourished bear cubs. The sweet aroma drifted across the snow-covered yard, drawing immediate attention from the weakened family. Steam rose from the carefully heated mixture, its warmth promising life-giving nourishment to the struggling cubs. Amy's hands trembled slightly as she measured precise portions, knowing these next moments could mean the difference between survival and tragedy. Kate Martinez established a careful perimeter around the makeshift medical station, her ranger training adapting to this extraordinary circumstance. Her radio crackled with updates from other wildlife professionals converging on the scene, each transmission carrying the weight of protocol meeting unprecedented reality. The mother bear's behavior defied every standard response procedure, forcing them to create new approaches in real time. Margaret Wilson's expertise in wildlife rehabilitation proved invaluable as she assisted Dr. Collins in assessing the cub's condition. Her experienced eye noted signs of severe malnutrition, dehydration, and hypothermia that demanded immediate intervention. Years of working with injured and orphaned wildlife hadn't prepared her for the level of trust displayed by this wild mother, seeking human help. The morning light strengthened as Dr. Collins prepared specialized equipment for examining the cubs. Thermal imaging cameras revealed the dangerous drop in their body temperatures, while portable diagnostic tools stood ready to measure vital signs. The mother bear's attention never wavered as he arranged these strange devices, her comprehension of their purpose seeming to transcend natural instinct. Amy's preparation of emergency nutrients followed strict protocols developed for wildlife rehabilitation, but the situation demanded careful adaptation. The formula needed to be strong enough to support recovery, while gentle enough for their weakened digestive systems. She adjusted concentrations with practiced care, her professional focus momentarily broken by the soft whimpers of the struggling cubs. The makeshift medical station grew more sophisticated as additional equipment arrived from the Mountain Region Wildlife Center. Portable heating units created a warm zone essential for treating the cubs' hypothermia, while specialized monitoring devices stood ready to track their vital signs. The mother bear's acceptance of each new addition demonstrated remarkable adaptation to human intervention. Dr. Collins's initial examination revealed the critical nature of their condition. The cubs' body temperatures had dropped dangerously low, their small frames showing signs of severe malnutrition. Yet the mother's trust in allowing his approach suggested she somehow understood his intention to help, a level of comprehension that defied conventional understanding of wildlife behavior. Kate coordinated with local emergency services, establishing clear protocols for this unprecedented situation. Her voice carried authority as she directed volunteer positions and managed access points, ensuring both human safety and the bear's comfort. The mother bear's remarkable cooperation made her task easier, though it challenged everything she'd learned about wildlife management. Margaret's experience with rehabilitation feeding proved crucial as they prepared for the first attempt at nourishment. The formula needed to be introduced gradually to prevent shock to their weakened systems. She worked closely with Amy to adjust the mixture. Their combined expertise focused on giving these cubs the best chance at survival. The professional team moved with coordinated precision, each member understanding their role in this delicate operation. Dr. Collins led the medical intervention while Amy managed the feeding station, Kate maintained security, while Margaret documented every development for future research. Their combined expertise created a symphony of hope for the struggling family. The mother bear's behavior during these preparations demonstrated unprecedented levels of trust and understanding. She maintained careful watch over her cubs, while allowing the medical team to work, her positioning suggesting remarkable comprehension of human intentions. Each movement showed careful calculation of risk and benefit, challenging fundamental assumptions about wildlife intelligence. Amy's monitoring equipment revealed the cubs' dangerously low blood sugar levels, prompting immediate action. The team worked swiftly to prepare glucose supplements while maintaining careful attention to the mother's reactions. Her continued cooperation suggested levels of understanding that would later fill research papers and challenge scientific assumptions about ursine cognitive abilities. The morning air carried the sound of additional wildlife professionals arriving, their vehicles carefully positioned to avoid disturbing the delicate scene. Each new expert brought specialized knowledge and equipment, adding layers of sophistication to the rescue operation. The mother bear's calm acceptance of these developments defied every expectation of wild animal behavior. Dr. Collins's portable laboratory equipment provided crucial data about the cub's condition. Blood oxygen levels, heart rates, and body temperatures painted a picture of creatures on the brink of collapse. Yet their mother's remarkable trust in human intervention offered hope where natural processes had failed them. Her behavior suggested an extraordinary leap of comprehension that transcended instinct. Kate's coordination with local authorities ensured the scene remained controlled and focused on the bear's needs. Her experience managing wildlife emergencies proved invaluable as she balanced public interest with professional necessity. The mother bear's cooperation made her task easier, though it challenged everything she understood about wild animal behavior. Margaret's documentation captured every aspect of this unprecedented event. Her camera recorded subtle interactions between mother and cubs, moments of trust between species, and the careful dance of human intervention meeting wild intelligence. Each frame would later contribute to revolutionary discussions about wildlife cognition and adaptation. The specialized formula Amy prepared represented the culmination of years of wildlife rehabilitation research. Its careful balance of nutrients, designed to support recovery without overwhelming weakened systems, offered the cubs their best chance at survival. The mother's acceptance of this human intervention demonstrated remarkable trust in their efforts to help. Dr. Collins's examination revealed the toll months of hardship had taken on the family. The cubs' growth had been stunted by malnutrition, their development delayed by lack of proper nourishment. Yet their mother's desperate gamble in seeking human help offered hope for recovery, her trust in their intervention defying natural instincts. The professional team's coordination demonstrated years of experience meeting the unprecedented nature of this situation. Each member adapted their expertise to the unique challenges presented by a wild mother bear actively seeking human assistance. Their combined efforts created a foundation of hope for this struggling family's survival. The mother bear's behavior during medical intervention showed remarkable understanding of human intentions. She maintained protective watch while allowing necessary examinations, her positioning suggesting careful evaluation of each new development. This level of comprehension challenged existing theories about wildlife intelligence and adaptation. Amy's monitoring of vital signs provided crucial feedback about the effectiveness of their interventions. Each positive change reinforced the hope that their efforts could save these cubs, while the mother's continued cooperation suggested extraordinary levels of trust in human assistance. Her behavior defied every expectation of wild animal responses to medical treatment. The makeshift medical station grew more sophisticated as additional equipment arrived from regional wildlife centers. Portable diagnostic tools, specialized feeding apparatus and monitoring devices created an impromptu hospital environment. The mother bear's calm acceptance of these developments suggested remarkable adaptation to human presence and intervention. Dr. Collins's expertise in wildlife veterinary care met unprecedented challenges in this situation. Standard protocols for treating wild bears assumed defensive behavior and required chemical immobilization. Yet this mother's voluntary cooperation allowed direct intervention, creating opportunities for care that challenged conventional wildlife medicine approaches. Kate's management of the scene ensured optimal conditions for the medical team's work. Her experience with wildlife emergencies helped maintain a balance between professional needs and public interest. The mother bear's extraordinary behavior made her task easier. Though it forced continuous adaptation of standard protocols, Margaret's rehabilitation expertise proved invaluable in planning long-term recovery strategies. Her understanding of wildlife nutritional needs and psychological support would help guide these bears back to health. The mother's trust in human intervention offered unprecedented opportunities for comprehensive care and rehabilitation. The professional team's careful coordination created an environment of focused hope around the struggling family. Each member contributed specialized knowledge while maintaining awareness of the extraordinary nature of this situation. Their combined expertise offered these bears their best chance at survival. Amy's preparation of specialized medical supplies demonstrated the complexity of wildlife rehabilitation. Each component needed careful consideration of wild animal physiology and psychology. The mother bear's cooperation allowed for more direct intervention than usually possible with wild creatures, creating unique opportunities for care. Dr. Collins's portable diagnostic equipment revealed the critical nature of the cub's condition while offering hope for recovery. Their vital signs, though dangerously weak, showed potential for improvement with proper care. The mother's trust in allowing examination of her cubs defied every expectation of wild animal behavior. The makeshift medical station became a nexus of professional expertise, meeting unprecedented wildlife trust. Each piece of equipment, each careful intervention represented hope for this family's survival. The mother bear's remarkable cooperation challenged fundamental assumptions about wildlife behavior, while creating unique opportunities for care. Human compassion met wild intelligence in this extraordinary moment of species cooperation. As the professional team's expertise, combined with the mother bear's trust, created possibilities for care that transcended traditional boundaries between wild and domestic worlds. Their shared effort offered hope for survival while challenging conventional understanding of wildlife behavior. Pine Valley stirred to life as word spread through the community about the extraordinary events unfolding at Emily Parker's property. Mike Sullivan, owner of the local general store, received the emergency text message just as he was opening for the day. Without hesitation, he began gathering supplies, warm blankets, heating pads, and essential medical items that might help the struggling bear family. His quick action sparked a chain reaction of community response that would soon transform the morning's crisis into a testament to collective compassion. Margaret Wilson's phone buzzed constantly as she coordinated the growing network of volunteers. Local residents, many still in their mourning robes, emerged from their homes carrying whatever they thought might help. Susan Cooper, the elementary school teacher, arrived with thermal blankets from her emergency classroom supplies. The retired Forest Service worker Bob Thompson brought his extensive collection of wildlife photography equipment to document this unprecedented event. The Pine Valley Community Center transformed into an impromptu command post as Sarah Martinez organized incoming resources. Longtime residents shared their knowledge of local wildlife patterns, while newcomers offered technical expertise and supplies. The conference room's walls soon filled with maps marking recent bear sightings, weather patterns, and available food sources, creating a comprehensive picture of the environmental crisis that had driven this family to seek human help. David Hayes from Mountain Valley News arrived to find a scene that defied conventional reporting. Instead of panic or chaos typical of wildlife emergencies, he witnessed a community united in purpose. Local business owners coordinated delivery of supplies, while neighbors established a quiet perimeter around Emily's property, their presence protective rather than intrusive. The mother bear's extraordinary behavior seemed to inspire equally remarkable human responses. Amy Chen worked tirelessly to coordinate medical supplies arriving from across the region. Local veterinary clinics emptied their stock of specialized formula and equipment, while neighboring wildlife centers dispatched emergency resources. The mother bear watched this growing activity with remarkable calm, her trust in human intervention deepening as more help arrived. Her behavior challenged fundamental assumptions about wildlife responses to human presence. The local high school's science department, led by Mr. Peterson, organized students to assist with documentation and supply management. These young volunteers moved with careful purpose, their natural enthusiasm tempered by the gravity of the situation. Their presence added fresh energy to the rescue effort while providing an unprecedented educational opportunity about wildlife conservation and community action. Jack Freeman's wildlife photography skills proved invaluable as he captured crucial moments of interaction between the bears and their human helpers. His images would later contribute to groundbreaking research on ursine intelligence and adaptation. The mother's careful positioning of her cubs, her aware but non-aggressive responses to human activity, and her apparent understanding of the help being offered defied conventional wildlife behavior patterns. The Mountain Region Wildlife Center dispatched additional rehabilitation experts as community support grew. These professionals found themselves working alongside local volunteers in an unprecedented collaboration between specialized knowledge and community dedication. The mother bear's continued cooperation created opportunities for care and observation that challenged traditional wildlife management approaches. Local restaurants began providing hot meals and coffee for the growing number of volunteers, their owners understanding the importance of maintaining community energy through the long day ahead. The aroma of fresh food mingled with the crisp mountain air, creating an atmosphere of determined hope around the rescue operation. Even this additional human activity failed to disturb the mother bear's remarkable calm. Susan Cooper's elementary school students, learning about the situation during their morning classes, began creating encouraging messages and drawings for the bear family. These artistic expressions of hope and support, delivered by parents throughout the day, added touching moments of innocence to the intense rescue operation. The children's pure empathy seemed to transcend species barriers, reflecting the extraordinary nature of this wildlife encounter. The Pine Valley Community Watch Network transformed into an efficient information-sharing system, coordinating resources and updating residents about the bear's progress. Local social media groups filled with offers of help and expressions of support, while longtime residents shared historical knowledge about wildlife patterns in the area. This digital mobilization complemented the physical presence of volunteers, creating a comprehensive support system. Sarah Thompson, the local veterinary supply store owner, opened her shop early to provide specialized equipment and nutrients. Her expertise in wildlife rehabilitation supplies proved crucial as she helped select appropriate materials for the bear's unique situation. The mother's acceptance of these human interventions suggested remarkable trust in the growing network of support around her family. The town's emergency response coordinator, James Bradley, adapted standard protocols to this unprecedented situation. His experience managing crisis situations helped organize the community's efforts while ensuring everyone's safety. The mother bear's extraordinary behavior allowed for closer human intervention than typically possible, creating unique opportunities for care while challenging conventional emergency response procedures. Local wildlife enthusiasts shared their knowledge of bear behavior and habitat preferences, helping create a longer-term support strategy. Their understanding of seasonal patterns and food sources would prove valuable in planning the bear's eventual return to the wild. The mother's trust in human presence offered unprecedented opportunities to study and support wildlife adaptation to environmental challenges. The community's technological resources proved valuable as residents established a digital network for sharing updates and coordinating support. Local IT professionals set up a dedicated communication system, while drone operators provided aerial surveillance of surrounding areas to understand environmental conditions. This modern approach to wildlife rescue demonstrated the potential for technology to enhance conservation efforts. Mountain Region News began broadcasting regular updates about the bear's situation, helping coordinate community response while sharing this extraordinary story with a wider audience. Reporter Maria Santos found herself documenting not just a wildlife emergency, but a remarkable example of community unity and cross-species cooperation. The mother bear's behavior provided unique opportunities to educate the public about wildlife intelligence and adaptation. Local conservation groups mobilized their resources to support the rescue operation, while gathering valuable data about wildlife behavior under extreme conditions. Their expertise helped create a comprehensive approach to the bear's care, while documenting this unprecedented example of human-wildlife cooperation. The mother's trust in human intervention challenged conventional understanding of wild animal responses to human presence. The Pine Valley Garden Club members began planning longer-term support strategies, discussing ways to enhance natural food sources in the area. Their knowledge of local plant life and growing conditions would help create sustainable solutions for wildlife facing environmental challenges. The mother bear's desperate journey to seek human help highlighted the need for comprehensive approaches to wildlife conservation. Register for updates. Sarah Martinez coordinated with regional wildlife experts to develop specialized care protocols for this unique situation. Her experience managing wildlife emergencies helped adapt standard procedures to accommodate the mother bear's extraordinary behavior. The unprecedented trust shown by this wild animal created opportunities for care that challenged traditional wildlife management approaches. The local hardware store owner, Tom Wilson, provided materials for creating temporary shelter and feeding stations. His practical knowledge helped transform Emily's property into an effective wildlife care facility while maintaining necessary safety precautions. The mother bear's remarkable adaptation to these human structures suggested levels of comprehension that defied conventional understanding of wildlife behavior. Mountain Valley Community College's Environmental Science Department offered research support and documentation services. Students and faculty worked together to record this unprecedented example of wildlife adaptation and human-animal cooperation. The mother bear's behavior provided unique opportunities to study ursine intelligence and decision-making processes. Local artists began creating visual records of the extraordinary events, their work capturing subtle details of interaction between the bears and their human helpers. These creative interpretations would later contribute to public understanding of wildlife intelligence and adaptation. The mother's trust in human intervention inspired artistic expressions that transcended traditional wildlife documentation. The community's collective response demonstrated remarkable adaptation to this unprecedented situation. Rather than fear or panic, typical of wildlife emergencies, residents showed measured compassion and organized support. The mother bear's extraordinary behavior seemed to inspire equally remarkable human responses, creating a unique moment of cross-species cooperation. Long-term residents shared stories of previous wildlife encounters, helping create context for this extraordinary event. Their historical knowledge provided valuable perspective while highlighting the unprecedented nature of the mother bear's behavior. This combination of experience and innovation helped shape effective responses to the current crisis. The Pine Valley Weather Service provided crucial updates about environmental conditions affecting wildlife in the area. Their detailed forecasts helped plan appropriate care strategies while understanding the challenges facing local animal populations. The mother bear's desperate journey to seek human help highlighted the impact of severe weather on wildlife survival. Local business owners coordinated their resources to support the rescue operation, demonstrating the community's commitment to wildlife conservation. Their practical assistance helped create an effective support network while maintaining necessary services for residents. The mother bear's trust in human presence inspired unprecedented levels of community cooperation. The town's emergency medical team remained on standby, ready to assist with any complications while ensuring human safety. Their professional presence provided crucial backup for the wildlife care specialists working directly with the bears. The mother's remarkable cooperation allowed for closer intervention than typically possible with wild animals. Mountain region. Wildlife rehabilitation experts shared their knowledge of bear behavior and recovery processes, helping create effective care protocols for this unique situation. Their experience with wildlife emergencies helped adapt standard procedures to accommodate the mother bear's extraordinary trust in human intervention. This unprecedented cooperation created opportunities for care that challenged traditional wildlife management approaches. Dawn painted the sky in hopeful shades of pink and gold as Dr. Nathan Collins prepared for the first critical feeding attempt. The specialized formula, warmed to precise temperature, filled the air with a subtle sweetness that drew the cubs' immediate attention. Their mother watched with extraordinary awareness as Amy Chen arranged feeding stations at carefully calculated distances. Her massive frame trembling with exhaustion, yet maintaining perfect stillness as human helpers moved about their tasks. The weakest cub responded first to the offered nourishment, its tiny tongue lapping tentatively at the warm mixture. The mother bear's reaction defied every wildlife protocol. Instead of claiming the food herself, she gently nudged her offspring forward, supporting its wobbling frame with her broad forehead. Each successful swallow brought visible relief to her eyes, a depth of maternal emotion that challenged fundamental assumptions about wildlife consciousness. Margaret Wilson documented every moment of this unprecedented recovery, her experienced gaze noting subtle signs of improvement. The cubs' breathing grew steadier with each careful feeding, their previously glassy eyes showing sparks of renewed awareness. The mother's careful attention never wavered, her behavior suggesting levels of comprehension that would soon fill research papers and challenge scientific understanding of ursine intelligence. Emily Parker's heated water feature became a crucial element in the recovery process, its steam rising like hope into the cold mountain air. The mother bear guided each cub to drink between feeding sessions, her movements showing remarkable understanding of the importance of hydration. Her cooperation with human intervention created opportunities for care that transcended traditional wildlife rehabilitation approaches. Amy's monitoring equipment revealed encouraging changes in the cubs' vital signs. Their heart rate steadied, body temperatures began climbing toward normal ranges, and blood oxygen levels showed marked improvement. The mother's trust in allowing these examinations demonstrated extraordinary adaptation to human presence, her behavior suggesting conscious choice rather than mere instinct. The morning light strengthened as Dr. Collins observed positive responses to the emergency treatment. The smallest cub, previously motionless, began showing signs of increased energy. Its siblings' conditions improved steadily, their movements growing more coordinated with each passing hour. The mother's vigilant care, combined with human intervention, created a remarkable partnership in their recovery. Kate Martinez maintained careful records of behavioral changes, noting increasing signs of natural curiosity in the cubs. Their initial lethargy gave way to subtle explorations of their immediate environment, each small movement marking progress. In their recovery, the mother's protective presence remained constant, though her posture relaxed slightly as her offspring showed signs of improvement. The specialized formula worked its miracle gradually, providing essential nutrients without overwhelming weakened systems. Dr. Collins adjusted concentrations based on observed responses, his expertise meeting the unique challenges of treating wild animals who actively sought human help. The mother bear's continued cooperation allowed for precise monitoring of recovery progress, creating unprecedented opportunities for wildlife rehabilitation research. Emily's security cameras captured touching moments of family interaction as strength returned to the cubs. Gentle nudges became playful touches, weak whimpers transformed into stronger vocalizations. The mother's behavior showed subtle changes, too, her exhausted vigilance softening into watchful contentment as her cubs showed increasing vitality. Margaret's documentation revealed the complexity of their recovery process. Each positive change built upon previous improvements, creating a cascade of healing that encompassed both physical and behavioral aspects. The mother's trust in human intervention remained steadfast, her intelligence apparent in every careful interaction with helpers and equipment. The morning progressed as Amy prepared subsequent feeding sessions, each one carefully timed to support optimal recovery. The cubs' responses grew stronger, their movements more purposeful as vital energy returned to their small bodies. The mother's patient oversight of their rehabilitation suggested remarkable understanding of the healing process. Dr. Collins observed increasing signs of natural bear behavior as the cubs regained strength. Their initial passive acceptance of help evolved into more active participation, suggesting recovery of normal wildlife instincts. The mother's guidance remained crucial, her behavior balancing wild nature with necessary cooperation with human caregivers. Kate's expertise in wildlife rehabilitation helped identify crucial markers of improvement. The cub's fur began regaining its natural luster. Their eyes showed increasing alertness, and their movements displayed growing coordination. The mother's evident relief at these changes manifested in gentle encouragement of her offspring's renewed vitality. The specialized monitoring equipment continued providing vital data about recovery progress. Each positive change reinforced the effectiveness of their intervention while providing valuable insights into wildlife rehabilitation processes. The mother bear's remarkable cooperation allowed for detailed documentation of their response to treatment. Emily's property transformed into an unprecedented study in wildlife recovery as the family showed increasing signs of improvement. The cubs' strengthening bodies told a story of survival against overwhelming odds, while their mother's dedication demonstrated extraordinary levels of animal intelligence and adaptation. Margaret's careful observations revealed subtle improvements in family dynamics as recovery progressed. The cubs' increasing energy allowed for more natural interactions, while their mother's behavior showed growing confidence in their healing process. Her continued trust in human presence created unique opportunities to study bear family relationships. Amy's expertise in wildlife care proved invaluable as she adjusted treatment protocols to match improving conditions. Each positive response guided modifications to feeding schedules and formula concentrations, creating optimal support for continued recovery. The mother's cooperation allowed for precise calibration of care approaches. Dr. Collins documented remarkable aspects of the cub's recovery that challenged conventional understanding of wildlife rehabilitation. Their response to treatment showed unexpected sophistication, while their mother's involvement suggested levels of comprehension previously unrecognized in wild animals. Each observation added to a growing body of evidence about ursine intelligence and adaptation. Kate's experience with wildlife behavior helped identify important transitions in the family's recovery. The cubs' return to more natural patterns of activity indicated positive progression, while their mother's careful oversight ensured safe exploration of increasing strength. Her observations contributed valuable insights into wildlife rehabilitation processes. The morning light revealed encouraging changes in the family's physical condition. The cubs' initially skeletal frames showed subtle signs of improvement, while their mother's exhausted vigilance gave way to more relaxed attention. Each positive change marked progress in their extraordinary journey of recovery. Margaret continued documenting every aspect of their rehabilitation, creating a comprehensive record of this unprecedented event. Her observations captured subtle nuances of interaction between mother and cubs, providing valuable insights into bear family dynamics during crisis recovery. The mother's trust in human presence allowed for detailed study of typically hidden behaviors. Amy's careful monitoring revealed steady improvements in vital signs and overall condition. Each positive change reinforced their treatment approach while providing hope for full recovery. The mother bear's cooperation allowed for thorough evaluation of their progress, creating unique opportunities for wildlife rehabilitation research. Dr. Collins observed increasing signs of natural behavior as the cubs regained strength. Their movements showed growing coordination. Their responses to environment became more typical of healthy young bears. The mother's guidance remained crucial, balancing their return to wild behaviors with necessary continued human care. Kate's expertise helped identify important markers of recovery in the family's behavior. The cubs' increasing energy manifested in more natural interactions, while their mother's vigilance adapted to their improving condition. Her observations provided valuable insights into wildlife rehabilitation processes. The specialized equipment continued providing crucial data about their recovery progress. Each positive change reinforced the effectiveness of intervention while offering hope for full rehabilitation. The mother bear's extraordinary cooperation allowed for detailed documentation of their response to treatment. Emily's property remained a nexus of wildlife recovery as the family showed steady improvement. The cubs' strengthening bodies demonstrated the effectiveness of their intervention, while their mother's dedication revealed remarkable levels of animal intelligence and adaptation. Each positive change marked progress in their extraordinary journey toward health. Margaret's observations captured subtle improvements in family dynamics as recovery continued. The cubs' increasing strength allowed for more natural interactions, while their mother's behavior showed growing confidence in their healing process. Her careful documentation provided valuable insights into bear family relationships during crisis recovery. Amy's expertise guided modifications to treatment protocols as conditions improved. Each positive response informed adjustments to care approaches, creating optimal support for continued rehabilitation. The mother's cooperation allowed for precise calibration of intervention strategies. Dr. Collins documented remarkable aspects of recovery that challenged traditional understanding of wildlife rehabilitation. The family's response to treatment showed unexpected sophistication, while their interactions suggested levels of comprehension previously unrecognized in wild animals. His observations contributed to growing evidence about ursine intelligence and adaptation. Kate's experience helped identify crucial transitions in the family's recovery process. The cubs' return to natural patterns indicated positive progression, while their mother's oversight ensured safe exploration of renewed strength. Her insights provided valuable understanding of wildlife rehabilitation dynamics. The morning's progress revealed encouraging changes in physical condition and behavior. The cubs' initial weakness gave way to increasing vitality, while their mother's exhaustion softened into watchful contentment. Each improvement marked another step in their extraordinary journey toward recovery. Maria Santos from Mountain Valley. News stood transfixed at the edge of Emily Parker's property, her years of journalism experience failing to prepare her for the scene unfolding before her eyes. The morning light caught crystalline frost in the mother bear's fur as she guided her cubs through another feeding session, her movements displaying unprecedented trust in human presence. Maria's camera operator, Tom Chen, captured footage that would soon challenge viewers' fundamental understanding of wildlife behavior. David Hayes, the environmental correspondent for the local Gazette, crafted his story with trembling fingers as he documented each extraordinary development. His detailed observations would soon reach beyond Pine Valley, touching hearts and minds across the country. The mother bear's remarkable intelligence and trust in human intervention created a narrative that transcended typical wildlife coverage, speaking to something deeper in human understanding of animal consciousness. Social media platforms buzzed with updates from local residents, their first-hand accounts spreading rapidly across digital networks. Amateur photographers captured moments of extraordinary interaction between the bear family and their human helpers, each image adding to a growing collection of evidence about wildlife intelligence and adaptation. The mother's careful cooperation with rescue efforts challenged conventional assumptions about wild animal behavior. Jack Freeman's professional wildlife photography revealed subtle details that captivated audiences worldwide. His lens caught the gentle encouragement in the mother's eyes as she guided her cubs through recovery, the careful calculation in her movements around human helpers, the growing trust evident in her relaxed vigilance. Each frame told a story of intelligence and adaptation that defied traditional understanding of wildlife behavior. Television crews arrived from regional networks, their presence adding new complexity to the unfolding story. The mother bear's remarkable calm, despite increased human activity, suggested levels of comprehension that fascinated viewers and experts alike. Her behavior provided unprecedented opportunities to document wildlife intelligence while challenging conventional beliefs about human-animal interactions. Wildlife documentary teams set up specialized equipment to capture every aspect of this extraordinary event. Their high-definition cameras revealed subtle nuances of interaction between mother and cubs, while thermal imaging equipment provided crucial data about their physical recovery. The resulting footage would later contribute to groundbreaking studies of ursine intelligence and adaptation. Local radio stations broadcast regular updates about the bear's progress, their reports drawing increasing attention from national media outlets. The story's emotional resonance touched listeners far beyond Pine Valley, creating connections that transcended geographical boundaries. The mother bear's trust in human help sparked discussions about wildlife conservation and cross-species cooperation across the country. Online wildlife forums filled with expert analysis of the bear's behavior creating virtual communities dedicated to understanding this unprecedented event. Professional researchers contributed insights, while amateur naturalists shared observations. Their combined perspectives building a comprehensive picture of wildlife intelligence and adaptation. The mother's extraordinary behavior challenged existing theories about animal consciousness and decision-making. Environmental news websites featured regular updates about the family's recovery, their coverage reaching audiences worldwide. The mother bear's remarkable trust in human intervention provided powerful illustrations of wildlife adaptation and intelligence, while her cub's recovery offered hope for conservation efforts globally. Their story sparked international discussions about human-wildlife relationships and environmental protection. Professional wildlife photographers documented every stage of recovery, their images capturing moments of extraordinary connection between species. The mother's careful positioning of her cubs for treatment, her gentle encouragement of their healing progress, and her remarkable cooperation with human helpers created visual narratives that touched viewers deeply. Each photograph added to growing evidence about animal intelligence and emotional capacity. Local news coverage expanded into feature stories, exploring broader implications of this unprecedented event. Journalists interviewed wildlife experts, conservation specialists, and community members, creating comprehensive narratives about environmental challenges and cross-species cooperation. The mother bear's extraordinary behavior provided compelling illustrations of wildlife adaptation and intelligence. Social media influencers shared updates about the bear's progress, their posts reaching millions of followers worldwide. The story's emotional impact transcended language barriers and cultural differences, creating global awareness of wildlife conservation challenges. The mother's trust in human help inspired discussions about environmental protection and species preservation across digital platforms. Television documentarians captured crucial moments of recovery that would later feature in educational programs worldwide. Their footage revealed subtle aspects of bear behavior previously unknown to science, while documenting unprecedented levels of trust between wild animals and human helpers. The mother's extraordinary intelligence challenged conventional understanding of wildlife consciousness. Environmental organizations incorporated the bear's story into conservation awareness campaigns, their message reaching audiences across continents. The mother's desperate journey to seek human help illustrated impacts of environmental challenges on wildlife, while her cub's recovery offered hope for successful intervention efforts. Their story became a powerful tool for promoting wildlife protection worldwide. Wildlife photography magazines featured extensive coverage of this extraordinary event, their images capturing moments of remarkable interaction between species. Professional photographers documented subtle changes in the family's condition, creating visual narratives of recovery that touched viewers deeply. The mother's trust in human presence allowed for unprecedented close observation of bear behavior. Local news websites experienced unprecedented traffic as viewers sought updates about the bear's progress. Their coverage expanded to include expert analysis, community perspectives, and broader discussions about wildlife conservation. The mother's remarkable behavior sparked international interest in environmental protection and species preservation efforts. Television news teams broadcast regular updates about the family's recovery, their reports reaching audiences nationwide. The mother bear's extraordinary trust in human intervention challenged viewers' assumptions about wildlife behavior, while her cub's improvement offered inspiring examples of successful conservation efforts. Their story created powerful connections between urban audiences and wildlife concerns. Environmental journalists explored broader implications of this unprecedented event, their articles examining impacts on wildlife conservation policy and practice. The mother's remarkable adaptation to human presence suggested new possibilities for managing human-wildlife interactions, while her cub's recovery demonstrated effectiveness of innovative intervention approaches. Social media platforms became crucial channels for sharing updates about the bear's progress, creating virtual communities dedicated to wildlife conservation. Amateur photographers contributed valuable documentation of daily developments, while expert observers provided context for understanding extraordinary aspects of the family's behavior. Their combined perspectives created comprehensive records of this unprecedented event. Professional news organizations developed in-depth features examining various aspects of this extraordinary story. Their coverage explored scientific implications of the mother's remarkable behavior, community impacts of collaborative intervention efforts, and broader environmental challenges affecting wildlife populations. The bear's journey touched audiences far beyond Pine Valley's boundaries. Local television stations provided regular updates about recovery progress, their broadcasts creating connections between urban viewers and wildlife concerns. The mother's trust in human help challenged conventional assumptions about wild animal behavior, while her cub's improvement offered hope for conservation efforts worldwide. Their story inspired discussions about environmental protection across diverse communities. Environmental websites featured comprehensive coverage of this unprecedented event, their articles reaching global audiences interested in wildlife conservation. Professional observers documented remarkable aspects of the mother's behavior, while community members shared perspectives on collaborative intervention efforts. Their combined narratives created powerful illustrations of cross-species cooperation. Wildlife photography forums filled with images capturing extraordinary moments of interaction between the bears and their human helpers. Professional photographers revealed subtle details of recovery progress, while amateur contributors documented daily developments in the family's condition. Their combined work created valuable records of this remarkable event. News agencies worldwide picked up the story, their coverage creating international awareness of wildlife conservation challenges. The mother's extraordinary trust in human intervention challenged global assumptions about wild animal behavior, while her cub's recovery offered inspiring examples of successful environmental protection efforts. Their journey touched hearts across cultural and geographical boundaries. Environmental organizations incorporated the bear's story into educational programs, their message reaching diverse audiences worldwide. The mother's remarkable adaptation to human presence provided powerful illustrations of wildlife intelligence, while her cub's improvement demonstrated effectiveness of innovative conservation approaches. Their experience became valuable tools for promoting environmental awareness. Television documentarians captured crucial aspects of recovery that would later feature in scientific studies of wildlife behavior. Their footage revealed unprecedented levels of trust between wild animals and human helpers, while documenting subtle changes in the family's condition. The mother's extraordinary intelligence challenged conventional understanding of animal consciousness. Spring light filtered through, awakening branches as Emily Parker witnessed the remarkable transformation unfolding in her yard. The mother bear, once skeletal and desperate, now moved with renewed grace, her coat regaining its natural glossy sheen. Dr. Nathan Collins observed with quiet amazement as the cubs displayed increasing vitality, their playful antics marking dramatic departure from their initial critical condition. Each day brought new signs of recovery that challenged conventional understanding of wildlife rehabilitation. Amy Chen monitored subtle changes in the family's behavior as they progressed. Through stages of healing, the cubs' movements grew more coordinated, their exploration more adventurous, while their mother maintained watchful oversight with relaxed confidence. Their interactions revealed complex family dynamics previously hidden from human observation, providing unprecedented insights into bear social structures and intelligence. Margaret Wilson documented remarkable aspects of physical recovery that exceeded expectations. The cub's fur transformed from dull patches to healthy growth, their bodies filling out with proper nutrition and care. The mother's careful guidance of their rehabilitation demonstrated extraordinary understanding of the healing process, her behavior suggesting sophisticated levels of comprehension about their treatment. The specialized formula developed for their recovery produced dramatic results, visible in daily improvements. Dr. Collins adjusted concentrations as the cubs gained strength, their bodies responding with increasing efficiency to carefully calibrated nutrition. The mother's cooperation allowed precise monitoring of their progress, creating valuable opportunities for studying wildlife rehabilitation techniques. Kate Martinez observed fascinating changes in family dynamics as health returned. The cubs' initial lethargy gave way to natural playfulness, their interactions showing increasing complexity and coordination. The mother's protective presence adapted to their growing strength, her behavior balancing wild instincts with continued trust in human caregivers. Emily's security cameras captured touching moments of family bonding during recovery. Gentle nudges became playful wrestling, weak whimpers transformed into confident vocalizations. The mother's patient oversight of these changes revealed remarkable understanding of her cub's progress, her behavior demonstrating sophisticated levels of parental guidance and adaptation. Dr. Collins noted significant improvements in vital signs as recovery progressed. Heart rates stabilized at healthy levels, body temperatures maintained normal ranges, and blood oxygen readings showed optimal function. The mother's continued cooperation with examinations allowed detailed documentation of their physical transformation, providing valuable data for wildlife rehabilitation research. The morning light revealed dramatic changes in the cub's appearance and behavior. Their initially fragile frames developed healthy muscle tone, while their movements showed increasing strength and coordination. The mother's evident satisfaction with their progress manifested in relaxed vigilance. Margaret captured subtle evidence of returning wild instincts as health improved. The cubs' play incorporated more natural elements, while their mother's guidance included increasing survival skill instruction. Their recovery process balanced successful rehabilitation with preservation of essential wild nature. The specialized monitoring equipment revealed steady progress in physical recovery. Each measurement showed positive trends, confirming effectiveness of their treatment approach. The mother's trust allowed continued observation of their improvement, providing unprecedented opportunities to study wildlife response to care intervention. Kate's experience helped identify crucial transitions in family rehabilitation. The cubs' return to natural behaviors indicated successful recovery, while their mother's oversight ensured safe development of essential skills. Their progress demonstrated remarkable balance between accepting human help and maintaining wild instincts. The morning sun revealed dramatic physical changes in the bear family. The cubs' frames showed healthy development, their movements displaying natural grace and strength. The mother's satisfaction with their progress manifested in relaxed attention, her behavior suggesting sophisticated understanding of recovery processes. Dr. Collins observed fascinating aspects of family interaction. During rehabilitation phases, the cubs' play sessions incorporated increasing survival elements, guided by patient maternal instruction. Their behavior revealed complex learning processes previously unknown in wild bears, challenging conventional understanding of wildlife. Intelligence, Emily's property, remained a nexus of wildlife recovery as the family showed steady improvement. The cubs' strengthening bodies demonstrated successful rehabilitation, while their mother's dedication revealed remarkable levels of animal intelligence and adaptation. Each positive change marked progress in their extraordinary journey toward health. Margaret's observations captured subtle improvements in family dynamics as recovery continued. The cubs' increasing strength allowed more natural interactions, while their mother's behavior showed growing confidence in their healing process. Her careful documentation provided valuable insights into bear family relationships during crisis recovery. Amy's expertise guided modifications to treatment protocols as conditions improved. Each positive response informed adjustments to care approaches, creating optimal support for continued rehabilitation. The mother's cooperation allowed precise calibration of intervention strategies, her behavior showing extraordinary adaptation to human assistance. Dr. Collins documented remarkable aspects of recovery that challenged traditional understanding of wildlife rehabilitation. The family's response to treatment showed unexpected sophistication, while their interactions suggested levels of comprehension previously unrecognized in wild animals. His observations contributed to growing evidence about ursine intelligence and adaptation. Kate's experience helped identify crucial transitions in the family's recovery process. The cubs' return to natural patterns indicated positive progression, while their mother's oversight ensured safe exploration of renewed strength. Her insights provided valuable understanding of wildlife rehabilitation dynamics. Pine Valley transformed under spring's gentle touch as the remarkable story of survival and compassion reached its natural conclusion. Dr. Nathan Collins stood, quietly observing the mother bear, guiding her cubs through morning activities, their movements now strong and purposeful, showing no trace of their desperate arrival weeks before. The morning sun caught highlights in their glossy fur as they practiced survival skills in Emily Parker's yard, their playful exploration marked by growing independence and natural instincts. Margaret Wilson completed her final documentation of the family's remarkable journey, her careful observations capturing the subtle signs of readiness for return to the wild. The cubs demonstrated increasing mastery of essential survival skills under their mother's patient guidance, their behavior showing perfect balance between wild nature and the trust that had made their recovery possible. Each movement spoke of health restored and lessons learned, their story already changing how humans understood wildlife intelligence and adaptation. Amy Chen reviewed the comprehensive data collected throughout their rehabilitation, her professional expertise confirming their readiness for release. The mother's extraordinary cooperation had allowed unprecedented study of bear family dynamics, providing insights that would influence wildlife care practices for generations. The trust she had shown in human intervention challenged fundamental assumptions about wild animal behavior, creating new possibilities for conservation approaches. Emily's property had become a living laboratory where traditional boundaries between wild and human worlds dissolved in service of survival. The morning light revealed the family's final preparations for departure, their movements showing natural wariness tempered by remarkable understanding of human presence. The mother's careful instruction of her cubs incorporated wilderness survival skills with awareness of human territories, demonstrating sophisticated adaptation to modern environmental challenges. Kate Martinez coordinated with regional wildlife authorities to ensure optimal conditions for the family's return to their natural habitat. Spring had finally arrived in the mountain forests, bringing natural food sources and appropriate conditions for wildlife survival. The mother's behavior showed increasing attention to distant wilderness, her instincts calling her family back to their true home, while her intelligence recognized the gift of human intervention that had saved their lives. Dr. Collins observed, The final stages of their remarkable recovery with professional amazement and personal emotion. The cubs' activities demonstrated perfect health and natural behavior, their bodies strong and agile as they practiced climbing and foraging skills. The mother's patient oversight revealed sophisticated teaching abilities, her methods combining instinctive knowledge with adaptations learned during their time under human care. Margaret captured touching moments of family interaction during their final days in Emily's yard. The cubs' play incorporated complex learning experiences guided by maternal wisdom, their behavior revealing sophisticated social structures previously unknown in wild bears. The mother's dedication to preparing her offspring for wilderness survival demonstrated remarkable balance between natural instincts and learned adaptation. The specialized monitoring equipment confirmed optimal health readings across all measures, validating their innovative rehabilitation approach. Each measurement showed perfect recovery, while behavioral observations indicated successful preservation of wild instincts. The mother's cooperation had allowed development of new wildlife care protocols that would benefit conservation efforts. Worldwide, spring sunlight filtered through awakening trees as the family showed increasing readiness for release. The cubs' movements demonstrated natural grace and strength, their bodies transformed from desperate weakness to vibrant health. The mother's attention shifted gradually toward wilderness territories, her behavior indicating natural timing for their return to wild existence. Amy's final health assessments confirmed complete rehabilitation success. Her detailed reports, documenting unprecedented aspects of their recovery journey. The mother's trust had allowed thorough study of bear family dynamics during crisis and recovery, providing valuable insights for wildlife rehabilitation science. Their story would influence animal care practices while challenging conventional understanding of wildlife intelligence. Kate coordinated with Forest Service personnel to monitor suitable release territories, ensuring appropriate conditions for the family's return to natural habitat. Spring had brought abundant natural food sources and proper weather conditions for wildlife survival. The mother's behavior showed increasing interest in wilderness areas, her instincts preparing her family for successful transition back to wild existence. Dr. Collins documented final observations of family dynamics that would inform future wildlife research. The cubs' activities demonstrated perfect balance between learned experiences and natural instincts, their behavior revealing sophisticated adaptation capabilities. The mother's teaching methods showed remarkable integration of wilderness survival skills with awareness of human boundaries. Margaret recorded subtle changes, indicating readiness for release as spring strengthened its hold on Pine Valley. The cubs' play incorporated increasing elements of wild behavior, while their mother's guidance focused more intensely on wilderness survival skills. Their recovery journey provided unprecedented insights into wildlife rehabilitation while challenging traditional assumptions about animal intelligence. The specialized equipment confirmed optimal physical condition across all family members, validating their rehabilitation approach. Each measurement showed perfect health restoration, while behavioral observations indicated successful preservation of essential wild nature. The mother's extraordinary cooperation had allowed development of innovative wildlife care protocols. Emily's property witnessed final preparations for the family's return to wilderness. The cubs' movements showed natural strength and coordination, their bodies transformed through successful rehabilitation. The mother's attention increasingly focused on distant forest territories, her behavior demonstrating natural timing for their release. Amy completed comprehensive documentation of their remarkable recovery journey, her professional observations, capturing unprecedented aspects of wildlife rehabilitation. The mother's trust had allowed thorough study of bear family dynamics, providing valuable insights for future conservation efforts. Their story would influence animal care practices while expanding understanding of wildlife intelligence. The morning sun illuminated dramatic evidence of successful rehabilitation as the family prepared for release. The cubs' bodies showed perfect health and natural movement, their behavior demonstrating essential survival skills. The mother's guidance incorporated sophisticated teaching methods, her dedication ensuring proper preparation for return to wilderness existence. Gate finalized coordination with wildlife authorities, ensuring optimal release conditions in suitable territory. Spring had transformed mountain forests, providing natural food sources and appropriate habitat for wildlife survival. The mother's behavior showed increasing focus on wilderness areas, her instincts guiding their transition back to natural existence. Dr. Collins observed final family interactions that would inform future wildlife research. The cubs' activities demonstrated sophisticated learning processes, their behavior revealing remarkable adaptation capabilities. The mother's teaching methods showed perfect integration of wild instincts with learned experiences from their time under human care. The morning light strengthened as Pine Valley prepared to bid farewell to its remarkable visitors. Their story had transformed understanding of wildlife intelligence and human-animal relationships, creating new possibilities for conservation approaches. The mother's trust in human intervention had saved her family while providing unprecedented opportunities for wildlife research. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.